I see it, man. House of Boxing, my brother Curtis Hunt, man. Go check out House of Boxing, man. But what's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So I just wanted to talk about a few things, man, regarding this Andy Ruiz Jr. rematch with Anthony Joshua, man. As Eddie Hearn continues to try to put his stamp and his imprint on this fight, on this rematch, right? The holdup in this situation, I want to tell y'all what's the holdup in this entire situation, if you're not understanding. The holdup in this entire situation is the mere fact that Eddie Hearn is trying to force Anthony Joshua to agree to have the fight in the UK, right? He knows that Anthony Joshua wants to fight back in the States, right? In the US. But Eddie Hearn is trying to force Anthony Joshua to say, I'll take the fight. I want the fight in the UK rather than in the States, right? And he's trying to manipulate the media and the public, right? To believe that it don't make him no matter where the fight takes place, right? But instead, he's placing blame, right? He's placing blame on Anthony Joshua's team, right? And trying to lighten the load from Anthony Joshua by stating, here's a few things that he stated, right? He said that I go to Anthony Joshua and I ask him, I say, where do you want the fight? Now, initially, he said that Anthony Joshua told him right off the bat, I want the rematch to take place at the scene of the crime at Madison Square Garden in New York City, right? And the more interviews you hear from Eddie Hearn regarding this situation, right, the more you hear Eddie Hearn's slowly changing the subject, changing the story, right? It's slowly switching up to Anthony Joshua stating that, well, it doesn't matter if it's in the state or if it's in the UK, right? You see, he's slowly switching up. Why? Because you're putting pressure on him. Because every day you're asking him. Every day you're putting pressure on him and trying to force him to say he wants to fight in the UK. But obviously, Anthony Joshua has been sticking to his square, standing on his square, and saying he wanted to go back to the scene of the crime in Madison Square Garden and have the rematch, right? You could tell from a person continuously asking a person or trying to change a person's mind by saying, you should take it here. This is when you should have the fight. You should take the fight in the UK, right? So now it got to the point where Anthony Joshua is drained, and Anthony Joshua was like, man, whatever. You could tell from Eddie Hearn's responses, because Eddie Hearn said that now he goes to Anthony Joshua, and Anthony Joshua tells him, it doesn't matter, wherever you choose. And he's like, no, it's got to be where you say, right? So it's like, you continuously ask somebody to do something, continue to do something, they don't want to do it, right? They continue to give you a different answer. They continue to say they want to do the opposite of what you want them to do. So you continue to ask them to the point where, they're like, you know what? Whatever, man. Do however you want to do it, whatever you want to do, right? But they're not being definitive, right? So and deep down in your heart, that they don't really want to do what you asking them to do. So you're trying to make them comfortable with your decision, right? So the answer they give you is, hey, listen, man, at this point in time, I don't really even care, man. A ring is a ring. That's what he's saying now that Anthony Joshua is saying. A ring is a ring. But Anthony Joshua came out on his YouTube channel. He came out after the fight, and he clearly stated, I want to go back to the scene of the crime. I want to go back to Madison Square Garden and have the rematch, right? It's only right. How great it would be for my legacy if I could right the wrong at the scene of the crime. This is what Anthony Joshua stated, right? And he didn't sound like he was on the fence about fighting in the UK opposed to fighting in the States. He seemed like he was very clear on where he wanted this fight to take place, in the States at Madison Square Garden. But Eddie Hearn is trying to convince him, as Eddie Hearn so elegantly put it earlier in an interview when he said, well, only a madman would want to go back to the States. Everybody know we should have the fight in the UK. Anybody you ask, from our team or our side, they're going to say have the fight back in his comfort zone where he has the advantages, right? So we know who wants what. Now, Eddie Hearn in the interview says, well, I take it to his team. Like he's trying to remove himself as if he doesn't have a say-so in this situation, right? As if it's not him. He's trying to he's trying to clear himself. No, it's not me. It's the team, right? It's Rob McCracken and his team. I don't disagree with them, but it's them that wants it in the UK. I don't care where it's at. Eddie, stop. We see right through that. A blind man can see through that, right? So Anthony Joshua truly wants this fight to take place back in Madison Square Garden in the States. Point blank and period. That's his decision. If it was up to Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz, both fighters want it to be back at Madison Square Garden in the States. Eddie Hearn doesn't want it there. And Eddie Hearn says, well, the more money is obviously at Madison Square Garden. But I thought you make all the big money at Wembley Stadium. That's a contradiction, Eddie. You said all the money, Anthony Joshua, when it came to Deontay Wilder, right? Anthony Joshua does Wembley Stadium and makes all the big money over there in the UK at Wembley because he's selling out Wembley, 80,000, 90,000 seat arenas, right? So how could the money be in the States versus Andy Ruiz at Madison Square Garden opposed to the money being in the UK at Wembley? Because you're not going to hold the rematch at the O2 Arena. You're going to hold the rematch at Wembley. So it should do 100,000 seats now because Anthony Joshua lost and everybody want to see if he could get his belts back. Right? So the money couldn't possibly be in the States. It has to be in the UK. See, this is what we've been telling y'all about the mind games they were trying to play in the whole situation with Deontay Wilder, because just like Eddie Hearn is doing right now with Andy Ruiz Jr., they want every advantage possible because they don't like his chances in the States. They never liked his chances against Deontay Wilder. So they wanted every advantage possible when Anthony Joshua stepped in the ring with Deontay Wilder, point blank and period. Thus the reason why they want every advantage right now possible for this Andy Ruiz Jr. fight, because we already seen Andy Ruiz drop him 4 times and ultimately stop him. So they want every advantage possible. It was never about the money. Right now, you see he said that all the money is in the States when it comes to this Andy Ruiz Jr. rematch, right? We know the money for this fight is in Madison Square Garden at the States. You're gonna make more money there. That's what Eddie Hearn just said. Go watch his last interview with IFL TV. He just came out and said all the money. We know all the money is you're gonna make all the big money at Madison Square Garden in the States. We know that already, right? Opposed to fighting over here. Okay, so how could that be possible, Eddie? When Anthony Joshua is the cash cow. He lost, but he's still the cash cow. So ultimately, right, he should be making far more money in the rematch with Andy Ruiz, right, than he did in Wembley Stadium he should do 100,000 seats now because he lost, and now people are intrigued to see if he could gain his belts back against Andy Ruiz. And now Andy Ruiz is a star on top of it. So Andy Ruiz is not Carlos Takam. He's not Joseph Parker, right? He's not even Dillian White. He's a far bigger star right now, right? So you should easily be able to do 100,000 seats at Wembley, and that should be the more money because you said that fighting Deontay Wilder at Wembley in the UK is going to make you far more money than it would be fighting Deontay Wilder in the States. But now you're saying that Andy Ruiz against Anthony Joshua is a far more lucrative money fight in the States than it is in the UK. And see, another thing is Eddie Hearn came out and said that, he's warning Andy Ruiz that there'll be legal actions taken against him if he continues to try to drag them to the States. So that means Anthony Joshua wants it in the States. He wants it at Madison Square Garden. Andy Ruiz wants it at Madison Square Garden. So why are you, as the promoter, trying to drag him, telling Andy Ruiz, threatening Andy Ruiz and saying, and warning Andy Ruiz if he continues on this path, then there'll be legal actions taken against him? But both fighters want it at the place, and it's your job as the promoter to put it where the fighters want, right? as a promoter, and you said you're going to make more money at Madison Square Garden. So if you're going to make more money at Madison Square Garden, and both fighters wanted at Madison Square Garden, your job as the promoter is to make the most money and that make the fighters happy. So you're going to make the most money at Madison Square Garden, and you're going to make both fighters happy. So why are you holding up the fight? Because you want the fight in the UK. Because you want every advantage possible, because you don't feel like Anthony Joshua could defeat Andy Ruiz Jr. That's the bottom line. And see, anybody with any sort of little sense could see this. Because if you make the most money in Madison Square Garden in New York, Anthony Joshua wants to fight, because he came out numerous of times, and you even came out and said, Eddie Hearn even came out for anybody's going to come and say, well, Anthony Joshua's not sure. No, Eddie Hearn came out and said that Anthony Joshua told him he wanted to go back to the scene of the crime and fight in Madison Square Garden. And Eddie Hearn said, Joshua, are you mad? So that's clear that you don't want it in New York, in the States. And then Andy Ruiz, just at the Keith Thurman, Manny Pacquiao fight, says, they're trying to drag me to the UK, and I'm not having it. I'm much more comfortable at Madison Square Garden in New York. That's where I'm going to have the fight. So, who's the person preventing this fight? Eddie Hearn. You're the odd man out. You're preventing this fight. You're dragging it. You told the public that the fight, the date, and the venue would be announced by the weekend. Now it's Tuesday. And you still got no announcement. Why? Because and now you're trying to convince Anthony Joshua to come out to the public and say that he wants to fight in the UK. So now you have a leg to stand on and an argument in the fight to say, see, Andy Ruiz is not abiding by the rules. And he continues to say Andy Ruiz knows what contract he signed. He knows how much money he was already set to make. He already knows this. So why are you trying to change it? There'll be legal actions taken against you. We know what it is, Eddie. You're trying to force Anthony Joshua to fight in the UK because you're not comfortable. You know that's your cash cow. You want every advantage possible for him because you don't truly believe in him. And Anthony Joshua, you need to look at this situation and understand my promoter don't truly believe in me. Because if he did, he said the most money could be made in the States. He said my fighter, Anthony Joshua, wants to fight in the States. Back at the scene of the crime is what Eddie Hearn said. And we just heard Andy Ruiz on Saturday night say he wants to fight in New York at Madison Square Garden. So the only person that don't want this fight at New York at Madison Square Garden is Eddie Hearn. And that's because he truly don't believe in you, Anthony Joshua. He don't think you can win this fight, and he wants you to have every advantage possible going into this fight. Because like you said, you said a ring is a ring. So if a ring is a ring, and Eddie, you know he can make the most money in New York, and he wants to fight there, and Andy Ruiz wants to fight there, then what's the holdup? Because you don't believe he can win on this side of the pond. You want him to have every advantage possible, just like you did with Deontay Wilder. But that's all I got for y'all. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notification. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shouts out to the entire LDBC. Shouts out to New Media. Shouts out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Eddie Hearn is trying to force Anthony Joshua to have the fight with Andy Ruiz Jr. in the UK. He's trying to force Andy Ruiz Jr. to take the fight in the UK. He's using legal actions as a way to scare Andy Ruiz. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.